Is it just me, or does Minnesota have a real problem with keeping superstars and developing talent? It was this stat that I heard recently, and it just started to make a lot of sense to me once I started seeing example after example. Minnesota throughout the years hasn't been one of the best teams, but when they've had certain players, they have made it farther than normal, you would think, right? For example, this year, the Timberwolves, they made it pretty far in the Western. They ended up getting bounced out pretty early. I think, honestly, they should have done as well as the Lakers did. But Anthony Edwards might have a big problem on his hands if he ends up staying in Minnesota. I would predict that he probably would never win if he stays in Minnesota. So the first example that I've seen that this Minnesota team is cursed is Kevin Garnett. And I'm a big Celtics fan. Kevin Garnett was one of my favorite players on the Celtics, and he actually spent 12 seasons in Minnesota and really barely did anything. And then as soon as he went to Boston, he won with Paul Pierce, Rondo, Allen, and that was his very first season with the team, right? So he got traded in 2007, they won in 2008, and that's only one example. The next is Kevin Love. So he actually was on Minnesota, and he had some crazy stats, especially when it came to like rebounds and things like that. But they never won a championship with him. And then as soon as he goes to Cleveland, actually for Andrew Wiggins, who we'll talk about in a minute here, he won with LeBron and Kyrie only 2 years later. So that's another example right in itself. And he wasn't like a superstar. Like, he was probably maybe like a second, third option on the team, right? But still, like, him just leaving Minnesota really changed everything. The next example, like I said, Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins was actually with Minnesota for 5 seasons. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even hear nothing about him until he got traded to Golden State. And then as soon as he went to Golden State, he was like that second, third option on the team, and they won in 2022. And obviously, right, it's going to help once you go to a team that has Steph Curry on it. But by this time, Steph is getting up there in age, and, just the simple addition of him, I don't believe they really had any other big players over there at the time. Obviously Draymond and stuff, but he was able to win shortly after leaving. And so I'm wondering, is this a pattern of developing talent and then the talent leaves and then they end up winning? But honestly, this is just too many coincidences for me to believe that Minnesota isn't cursed. The next example, obviously, Cat just winning his ring with New York. He was with Minnesota for a while. They went to the conference finals a couple years ago with Anthony Edwards, but he ended up leaving. And honestly, I did not think very much of him on the Timberwolves. He was okay. Personally, my opinion of him is he cries too much. He's always on the floor trying to get calls. Him and LeBron are kind of like that, in my opinion. Some people say that about Shea too, but yeah. And then he kind of just got this new like dog in him once he went to New York, and they just won. If it wasn't for Jalen Brunson, he would have definitely won the MVP of the finals. So those are just a few examples. Another notable mention actually is Jimmy Butler, because after he left Minnesota, he was like the best player on multiple finals teams. He hasn't impressed me. Like, if we want to be real, maybe I'll make another video about Jimmy Butler. If we want to be real about Jimmy Butler, he is not really that impressive to me. There obviously was a period of time where I wasn't watching basketball for I want to say like 4 to 6 years, around like 2016, probably like 2016 and 2020. I wasn't really that locked in. But when I started watching basketball again and he was playing on the Heat, like watching him be a baby with Pat Riley and like kind of just refuse to play games, or Pat Riley benching him, whatever that case was, he just never bounced back to me. And I remember the trade to Golden State within the last couple of years. And in the back of my mind, everybody's getting hyped, but I knew in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to be anything crazy. Like, they weren't going to all of a sudden be this great team just because Jimmy Butler got there. I honestly don't know what he's doing. He should be way better than he is. I think he has a lot more potential than he shows us. But I just have not seen him really be that impressive and like really step up to the plate when it comes to being a scorer. And I know he can do it, but a lot of his games, I mean, he's setting guys up, he's doing assists, but it's not that impressive. Another notable mention from back in the day, before some of you guys were born, was Chauncey Billups. Now, he was drafted in 1997 in Minnesota, and he got traded after only 29 games. Later on, he became Finals MVP with Detroit. That was cool. Another notable mention, Zach LaVine. After leaving, he was a multiple-time All-Star, and so this is just the pattern that we're seeing with guys, that they're just so much better after they leave the Timberwolves, whether it be 1 year or 12 years, right? So the question is, Anthony Edwards, is he going to stay with Minnesota? I don't think that is going to be a smart decision if he ever wants to win a ring. I just don't think he's going to do it in Minnesota. In my opinion, he's better off leaving the team. Where could I see him going? I really don't know. Because he is a point guard, so we kind of got to think like, what team needs a point guard? And I would hate to see him go to a worse team than Minnesota. Like, I would hate to see him go to like a Grizzlies or a Pelicans, I mean, I don't know if he would be a good fit for like maybe like one of those Florida teams, Orlando, Miami. I really don't know. I would want to see him get with a team that is already in a winning position, that is just kind of missing the point guard. So if you guys like know a team that he could fit on, that actually needs a point guard, that would actually have a decent chance of going on a run with a point guard, please let me know in the comments, because I have no idea. But the only thing that I know is that he needs to get out fast, or he's never gonna win a ring where he is.